shortly. She will be the lead roadway engineer.
Hello.
Hello. It seems like they're in the same place, but she is in Dallas, no, Houston, and he's in Minneapolis.
Oh, really?
They're sitting in the same spot.
Yeah.
It's his default background.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, that's funny. All right, well, it's 6, so I'm assuming we are started. We have started. There we go, we did it. Look at that. So thank you everybody for coming. Packed house. No, so we're gonna go over a little bit today the project, Gunflint Trail. Some people call it the Mill to Hill project. A little double track bridge replacement as well on the lower Gunflint part. What we're going to be going over today, we'll do some introductions. AECom is our consultant on this project. We're just going to kind of go over some very preliminary features so far, and then if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them. We'll kind of go from there. I think some of the quick highlights on this is, we know the climbing lanes right now, there's 3 of them heading up the hill. So what we're proposing is 4, expand that into 4 lanes. The little double track river bridge there, 95684, it's considered structurally deficient. There's another guideline they go by, the local planning index, that is also eligible for replacement as well. So it's time to go for that one. I think, and then the last thing that we're gonna go over a little bit is kind of intersection improvements up at the 4 corners there of Gunflint and Double Track Road. So from here, I'm going to turn it over to AECom, and Trevor's going to kind of start us off. So.
Sounds good. Thanks, Robbie.
Yeah.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Trevor LaChance. It's a pleasure to be here. Like as Robbie said, I'm with AECom. I'm the one of the roadway designers on the project, and I have, when I heard that I was going to be involved with this project, it made me really excited because I grew up coming up here. So it's a really lovely place, and I really enjoy coming here. So to kind of build off what Robbie was saying, the project's going to be in 2024, and I think he touched on the main areas of focus. But mill and overlay, if you don't know, is a process of milling, the top 2 or 3 inches of the asphalt pavement off, and then you basically pave a new top course down. So it's going to be a very smooth new roadway and help with the ride quality. So we'll move on to the next few slides. These are just pictures of the existing corridor. As we all know, this is the kind of that truck turnoff, and then that's the double track road intersection that is just purely a two through lanes. So there's no left or right turn, dedicated turn. So we're going to be adding those dedicated left and right turns going northbound, so that'll help with flow. And then, as he said, the bridge, there's a number of things that are deficient, so we'll cover those here in a minute. So moving through, I'm going to go through a series of cross sections that are going to show everyone what the new roadway will look like. Some areas are matching the existing cross sections, but there are a few cross sections throughout the corridor that we're going to be adding some new elements to. So as you can see, this is at 5th Avenue West. You've got the right turn coming down the hill, and then you have got the 2 through lanes, and you've got a shoulder. Just a simple mill and overlay through this section. Nothing too special about it. We're going, and as you will notice in the bottom corner, you'll see like a little mini map where it's kind of highlighting where along the road, the Gunflint, this is where we're talking about. So this is one of the areas where we're adding, it's an addition that is going to really help advance and increase mobility on the corridor. We're adding a new climbing lane here. So that's really going to help traffic pass big truck traffic going up the Gunflint on that main climb. We were looking at the existing topography, and you'll notice that we had to add a guardrail on the edge there because the slopes are too steep. When we widen and add a paved shoulder so that bicyclists can traverse up and down the corridor, we really have to add that guardrail for safety concerns. So that's going to be an addition. And as you can see, there's a paved shoulder, 5-foot shoulder on either side. That's going to be basically used, if a vehicle needs to pull off, they can, but then it's also there for bicyclists, because we know that that's a corridor is common for bicyclists.
But it is a shoulder, not a bike lane.
It's not a bike lane. Correct. It's not a dedicated straight bike lane, just a paved shoulder.
I wonder too, is the guardrail going to pose a hazard for cyclists if vehicles get too close and they get pressed in?
Something we'll have to consider. It's, from a roadway perspective, the guardrail is there to protect any bicyclists or vehicles going off the embankment, because it is a very steep hill. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, another thing about the guardrail and slope in that area is that because of a lot of snow, we haven't gotten the survey yet. And this is all based off in topo. And as we get survey, once the snow is gone, we get the survey. This is evolving process, and that might not look like that. So that slope might not look like that. So it's it's continued part of the design. So yeah.
Yeah, thanks for adding that. Sure. Once the snow thaws, we'll have a lot more accurate survey. So, well, we'll move on. So, as you progress up the corridor, after County Road, it's pincushion. Is it pincushion drive?
Yes.
The climbing lane is going to taper back to one lane. So there'll be the two southbound travel lanes, but then there'll be just the one northbound as in the existing condition. And as you can see, we're maintaining that 5-foot paved shoulder throughout for bicyclists. Then as we move up closer to the culvert, it's existing conditions, still maintaining that shoulder, just one lane in each direction. And then as we get to the double track road intersection, this is where we're going to be adding those mobility elements, where we're going to be adding the right and left turn lanes. So there'll be a little bit of widening on the southeast quadrant. Nothing too major, but that's going to hopefully help traffic. Sounds like it's a really busy, well, more of a busier intersection, getting up into the boundary waters and elsewhere. And then this shows you kind of a plan view of sort of how that's going to look. Just going to we're going to introduce some new geometry into the roadway, and yeah, we're going to have to realign the north leg of that intersection to align our, the through lanes properly, but nothing too major. So, any questions from the audience before we move on?
That last picture, so are the turn lanes only on this side, not on the upper side of the four corners?
Correct. So they're dedicated on the northbound to eastbound and westbound movement, but for these, it's going to be a through right.
Okay.
So from what I understand, the Gunflint is not stop or yield controlled, it's a through movement. So you've got stop control on the minor street. So it'll be just right turns, left turns. Do you find that this to be a problem?
I like the left-hand turn, the right-hand turn, I think, I don't know, how much extra is that costing us? It's not.
Oh, they have it coming down?
No, going up.
This one
when
here?
you're going up. It looks
Oh,
like-
yeah.
Towards the golf course?
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
But no, I think that's a necessary, a left-hand turn is a good safety thing to
Mhm.
think about.
It's tough too for what, a lot of times when we look at this stuff, there's data you can track, right? This amount of accidents, this amount whatever. We don't have that up here. And that doesn't mean there's no accidents or near misses. It's just, your neighbor pulled you out and then nothing gets reported.
I've had a couple myself.
There you go. Well, a case in point, and that's already more that's been reported. So yeah, so a lot of it is anecdotal, of we know where some problems are. And so, and similarly, if it's something where later on and having, more meetings or whatever, where if we figure, well, maybe some dedicated lanes coming down is necessary, that can be discussed. But right now, this is kind of what we landed on so far, yeah.
And I might add, I think it will be valuable down the road, and we'll get to this here in a couple of minutes. We'll talk about the construction staging. There might be value in doing a traffic count at the intersection, so to better understand what's the vehicles per day and what are the movements, because we're gonna need to know that for something I'll discuss in a second. So, Peter, go
Yeah.
ahead. It's all up to you.
So, structural engineering for the culvert displacement. So this culvert is falling apart. The joints are failing, and one of the reasons being there is a lot of soil on top. There is about 25 feet of embankment on top of the culvert, and so as you can see, the joints are separating, and also this culvert is on a slope, so because of that, there is high velocity in the culvert causing erosion in the downstream. Another another picture for this culvert is that it's a trout passage, and because of high velocity, it affects it hinders the trout passage. And as you can see, the embankment is also affecting the apron and wing walls. Those are separating and tilting, and there's a lot of erosion downstream. Hydraulic analysis was done for this existing condition, and the determination that we got was that there's high velocity and the box right now is undersized. So we are looking into using a bigger size box, which will dissipate the velocity, high velocity, and also making the culvert a little bit flatter so that there's downstream erosion can be mitigated or can be reduced, and that would help with the long-term downstream, putting riprap there, helping that way, and then also helping with the trout passage. So,
Excellent. Yeah. Any questions before we move on? Okay. Thanks, Peter. All right. So we'll move into the.
Actually, one good question. So with the wing wall separation,
Mhm.
I mean, that's,
Yeah.
you can see that. I'm not an engineer, but I can see that it's.
Yeah.
How acute of a problem is that right now? Like, is it something that needs to be addressed immediately, or?
Go ahead.
Those joints everywhere, it's failing. And one of the things about the wing wall, those are all precast elements, and those are all tied together. And in the box, in the apron, everywhere, those joints are the part that's failing. And the main reason being there is a lot of embankment on top, and those connections are not supporting it. If it keeps happening, if it's not mitigated sooner, it can tip. And it's better to take care of that before more erosion or more damage happens.
It's, our bridges every year go through, obviously, a lot of inspections. And so I think this one might be on an annual inspection, just for the condition that it's in, if I remember right. It's either annual or every other, one of the two. And so, part of that rating is how tippy those wing walls are, how separated things are. And so if it was something that was that alarming, this one in particular, I think, Randy, we've had our guys out there actually spray painting how much the separation is and how much it increases every year. And so nothing's all of a sudden jumping to like, well, if that was the case, we'd shut it down, which clearly we're not there. To be fair, too, the amount of fill that's on top actually helps us a little bit as far as mitigating.
With the amount of fill culvert, so that's like the engineering part of the culvert, is that if there's a lot of fill on top of it, vehicles moving on it, culvert doesn't see much impact from the vehicle load. But then the load itself, the embankment itself, starts affecting it. So it's like what affects a dead load or live load. So there's like a sweet spot where there's just right amount of dead load and live load is not affecting, but in this case there is a lot of soil on top. So like from MnDOT's, the list of guidance, like amount of soil on top, this is at the max, so.
And with it being a bigger structure, that will help.
Yeah,
With
so,
that problem,
yeah,
right?
and so we will also what we'll do is, look into, after making the box bigger, how much the embankment decreases by. It will probably decrease by 2-3 feet by making bigger box, and then, the connections used will be specifically for that, level of embankment.
Awesome. Great questions. All right, well, we will move into what we call maintenance of traffic construction staging. So this is a map to show you what, we'll go through 2 stages. It's going to be a pretty simple construction process because the mill and overlay, it's just simply grinding that, like I said, that top, couple inches of wearing surface off and then milling. So what we'll be doing is just shifting traffic over, in this case in stage 1 more than likely, onto the southbound lanes, one direction of travel in each direction, while they mill and construct that on the northbound side. So they're going to widen out and build that new climbing lane and adding that guardrail, as well as widening and constructing those new turn lanes up at the intersection, as well as building the east half of the culvert. So a lot going on throughout this corridor. It'll be a reduced speed to help increase safety from that perspective. Let's see. There will be, so we're not going to, there'll be an alternate route outside of town that people can use, but we will be really honestly trying to provide that construction or that traffic through the construction zone. But if people want to bypass traffic, they can certainly do so, or construction outside of town. There will, as you'll see in a moment, there isn't room to allow for bicyclists through the construction zone during construction, so they'll have to find an alternate route just due to safety and space. So this is the first section we'll be kind of going over. As being described, the culvert will be installed. It'll be constructed in part width, so there'll be some steel sheet piling driven down deeply within the ground to hold up the half of the embankment, and then there'll be a barrier and then temporary guardrail to protect traffic as they come through. There'll be only one direction of traffic permitted at a time because there's not enough room to allow for two lanes. And so the way that's going to be done is if we go back, there'll be a temporary signal on either side of the culvert. If you can see those yellow symbols, that will basically control, it's common up here. Just, you stop traffic, allow one direction to come through, and then allow the other to come through. So there'll be a little bit of a traffic jam there, but I don't think it's going to be too bad. So that's that, and then we'll just kind of keep going through. As you can see, shifting traffic over. There'll be some widening a little bit, and then paving the aggregate shoulder with some temporary pavement to allow that a smooth driving surface for drivers. And then they'll be working on the other side of the cone there. And then we'll just keep progressing. Same type of thing. And then that's the widening area. So yeah, that's the big portion, this first stage. And then when we go to stage 2, it's really a mirror of stage 1. A little less work in stage 2, whereas basically the traffic's going to be driving on the new pavement, and then they're going to finish off the existing roadway. Same deal up at the culvert. They're just going to basically backfill that pit and basically build the road back up correctly with the new embankment, and then let traffic flow on that new portion, and then basically progress through the whole rest of the corridor. So pretty straightforward. Any questions as far as that goes?
For what it's worth, those temporary signals he was mentioning, we used those this last summer on the Gunflint projects. They were beautiful. It was nice not to have it. It's safer too. We don't have to have flaggers out there. There's, potentially putting somebody at a safety risk there, especially here, we're going to be dealing with far more traffic. than we are gonna be than where we were doing our culvert replacements last summer. And I think it'll, too, as far as traffic, mitigation, he'd mentioned kind of an alternate route. And I think, I kind of think of it as from people visiting. You coming in on 61, and I think when we have signs out, have something, Gunflint alternate route or whatever, to go up 7, to go up 6, connect to 8, and you avoid all this traffic. So hopefully mitigating a lot of that, visitor traffic will help this a lot. I mean, even if it's like 20 cars, to me, that's 20 less cars that construction crews have to deal with, that have to sit there and wait. Yeah.
It's like overflow alternate route.
Yeah, yeah. So there'll still be traffic able to go, obviously trucks, whatever, on the Gunflint. When we were talking, I was like, we can't close the Gunflint. Like, it's just not a question. It's not an option. Yeah.
But I can see a lot of people taking the alternate route.
Totally.
And I just talked to somebody last week about County Road 6, and they're pretty upset about County Road 6.
Yeah.
I would guess they might be a little upset about this idea too.
Yeah, that's fair. 6 has seen a lot of detours, especially with the work that was done. And I think I can't remember, was it MnDOT stuff this past summer, or when? Trucks were using 6 for something.
So is it pretty beat up?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's just a
Right
gravel.
here. I don't know.
It's a gravel road.
Take a ride up there.
Yeah, it's a gravel road, and
Okay.
she bobs and weaves, and it's steep. I mean, it's not
fun.
and so it's kind of this debate we have when we talk about this stuff of, well, what are our options? And one of them is closing down the Gunflint Trail. Okay, what does that look like? And you're like, boy, I don't think that looks good. Because even when you look at where, if you do that, you take 8, you take 6, you end up down on 7, way west of town. Now you're coming back down that way, and then the other option is that's just the west side. If you're going east, 60, we're not doing that. So
That's a huge detour.
that's a huge detour, and you want to talk about a beat up road, like, I know. But yeah, 6 needs some attention, that's for sure. But this way, at least we have some traffic on the Gunflint, some traffic hopefully going elsewhere, and it's kind of a happy medium, I think.
So with the culvert replacement,
Mhm.
how long would the signals be up? Do we have an approximate idea of that?
It's real far down there. So like when we did, again, the ones this past summer that weren't, 20 feet down, that's a month. They can get the new thing in. Not that it's like open and everything's ready to go, but as far as pulling the old one, putting in the new one, a month. It's pretty short. In this case with that, boy, I don't know. Randy, you think of any deep ones we've done? I don't think like this. Worst case, the summer. My goal with a lot of this, like if we can do a project in one summer, to me, I'm very happy with that. That's always my goal. Worst case, summer.
How old is that culvert?
1980s?
Something like that. I
1980.
think it was even older.
1983
Was that it?
I think it's 83.
Was it 8? Yeah.
It's not
Doesn't seem that
very
old.
old.
Yeah. Well, because we're shooting on, yeah. Oh. Yeah. So culverts, I mean,
1983.
which one is it?
1983.
83? Yeah. So, I mean, at that, what are we at? 40, coming up on?
Yes.
Yeah.
38 years.
38 years, yeah. So,
Yeah.
I'm not surprised it's a little beat up. It's a lot of fill sitting on top of it. And like Dina was saying, that's kind of what pushes it. It's not the truck traffic that's hitting it, it's just that constant, load sitting on it.
Just the embankment
Mhm.
crushing it.
Yeah,
basically.
you're never gonna beat Mother Nature, so she's just gonna do what she wants, and if we get 50 years out of something, great.
And you're saying the tie rods were not designed to maybe
Yeah,
perhaps they
so we
under-designed?
don't know how it was designed, like
Sure.
we can't talk about it because we don't have design data for this,
So,
but
Mhm.
this was definitely designed as a precast boxes. And if you just look at the concrete and box itself, those are fine, it's the connections that's failing,
Mhm.
so, yeah.
Is, I know it's come up in the past, or one option for this was lining it.
Mhm.
Has that been explored?
No, we haven't.
No, we did, because when we talked about it, and due to the high velocities in there, we're already sitting at something that's too small. And so lining it is only gonna shrink that, it's gonna put your thumb further over the hose. You can sit at the end, I guess it'd be easier to catch trout, and just hold the net out, but.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not going to resolve the erosion, downstream erosion.
Yeah.
And from an environmental perspective, throughout the project, we'll be maintaining, stormwater, proper stormwater management, and making sure runoff and erosion is followed per MPCA guidelines, and make sure everything, silt and runoff protection is adhered to. Making sure things aren't just running off into the streams and ditches and waterways. So, definitely protecting that.
So the culvert is going to be bigger, I assume it's taller.
Wider as well, so that
Okay.
the cross section will be bigger.
So the elevation of the road now, will it be the same?
Yes.
Or-
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because before that 40-year-old culvert went in, we went down into a hole and there was a bridge and then
Oh.
we went
Oh,
down.
okay.
Is that right? Back in the day? It was, okay.
Yeah, no,
And there were lots of accidents.
yeah, we're not gonna do that.
I just wanna know.
No, that's fair.
The
Yeah.
roadway profile is not changing, the elevation, everything is not changing. It just, top remains the same and then box goes up or down as needed.
Correct. Yeah.
Awesome. Any other questions? For now? Obviously, there's a long time until this comes, and we'll think of something.
Can we post this presentation on the website?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, that's easy. Great. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome. Thank you for your time. Thanks for
Yeah.
listening.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. You got any other questions? Feel free to reach out to Robbie.
Yeah.
And then our team will help address that.
Sweet, all right.
Very
well,
good, thank
Yeah,
you.
look at that. We did it. Thanks.
Thank you, Greg.
Yeah. That was easy.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Thanks, Kelly and Kevin.
Thanks.
Thanks, Kelly. Thanks, Kevin.
I'm going to disconnect.
Perfect. I'm just gonna wait until,
Thanks for your questions. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, thank you.
Thanks for being here.
So, yeah, red thing.